Survivors of comas, what was it like? I was in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks. All I remember is what it's like when they start pulling you out. I was having very vivid and strange dreams mixed with reality. Then one day I was able to recognize. It was now September, but I remembered entering the hospital in August. The worst thing. Emo is the atrophy that happens while you're not moving. I was in a coma for a month and had to build my muscles up to be able to walk and climb steps again. I think I made it from my door to the next one the first time they got me out of bed. And I cried because of the mixture of physical and mental pain. And #X200B. The first time I tried to climb a flight of stairs, I just went at it like normal and was exhausted. Before coming close to the top, the rehab person had to explain to me that for now it was getting both feet on the step before going for the next one. Like how old people climb stairs. And #X200B. It ended up taking over a year before my body was anywhere close to normal. I also had this skin peeling on my hands and feet shortly after I woke up. A motorcycle accident left me in a medically induced coma for about 2 weeks. I had weird dreams. I didn't know what had happened to me until I was woken up. I didn't know time had passed. I still remember the dreams. In a coma for 42 days. I don't remember a thing. Had a major open heart surgery. Almost died and went into a 2-week coma after resuscitation. Being in the coma felt like sleeping soundly. TBH. Had an endless series of random dreams. The last dream I had before waking up was that I was riding escalators for way too long. So long that I even thought to myself in the dream, "That's strange. Why aren't I waking up?" Quote. My sister was in a coma for over a month from a car accident. She was asleep in the backseat on a road trip and her friend flipped the car on the freeway, trying to avoid something on the road by swerving. But in a panic she hit the gas instead of the brake. She had a bruise on her brain, which was kinda like her being mentally handicapped, but each day she got better. Now she's completely recovered and back to normal. When she woke up, she told us she had a dream where some mystery guy shot her, and that's what she thought happened, with no recollection of the car accident. I got in a car accident in 2016. No head trauma, thank God, but I was in and out of consciousness for about a week. I have 3 memories and flashes of asking for water about 1 trillion times. The 3 memories were: 1. My friend Rosa coming to see me. I think I woke up for like a minute and went back to oblivion. 2. Waking up and having a tingling feeling. I fractured 4 or 5 vertebrae and had a burst fracture on my L4 in my right leg. Notifying my mom or dad. Honestly don't remember. Who then got a doctor who promptly told everyone to leave, then I was back out again. 3. Bitching to my parents about one specific nurse who I blamed for not letting me have water in my haze of drugs. Edit. 4. I remember signing some paperwork before going into the first spinal surgery. Release forms and a DNR. Fucking weird. I was out for 9 days. Coma dreams are intense. Coming back from it was super strange too. A lot of questioning reality. I was out for 2.5 days from an unintentional overdose. AKA why the pharmacy always asks if you have any questions about that pill nowadays. I have no memory for about a day after waking up, but my family said I had some pretty rough things to say after my eyes opened. 0 tenths would not recommend. I was put into a medically induced coma for a week after I got my shit rocked in a crash. It sucked balls. 1. I could hear what was going on, but had 0 ways to communicate. 2. The hallucinations, nightmares was really fucked. But that's to expected from anyone who goes into a coma due to a traumatic event. And 3. I couldn't tell what was real and what was a dream for a very long time. and still have moments where I have loud and severe auditory hallucinations that convince me I'm back in my non-consensual nap time. Also, something that isn't well known is, after an extended period of strong as shit meds and not moving, besides when the nurses roll you like a Cali roll, your muscles forget how to work. It took me about a month of rehab to get enough strength to lift a large cup of water. But it was absolutely necessary. And although it was scary as shit, I survived my less than 10% survival chance thanks to, and the fucking amazing, strong, and caring nurses and specialists. I was able to return to my babies, and my future husband. Still, 0 would not recommend. Edit. Thank you kind and awesome people for the awards. Edit 2. Holy crap. This blew up. I'm sorry for the 0 response for the last 12 hours. But I will get to you guys. I hope you guys have an awesome and beautiful day. Edit 3. Holy shit, someone gave me gold. Thank you kind and awesome person. You rock. I was in a medically induced coma for a week or two back in 2008. After going through a 22-hour surgery to remove the tumor from my abdominal area, I ended up spending about 3 months in the surgical ICU recovering from that, before being sent upstairs for 3 more months in the hospital receiving chemotherapy. I still have PTSD today from my time in the ICU. A big part of it was something called ICU delirium. Basically, it's when the bright, always on lights, constant beeps, and odd combinations of medicines mess with your systems and basically make you temporarily crazy. I still remember the hallucinations I had there more vividly than dreams I had this week. Ugh. My cousin was hit by a car when he was in his early teens and was in a coma for about 6 weeks. He's in his late 20s now. He lives in a group home, has the mental capacity of a child, is prone to, often violent, fits of rage and has very little impulse control. He cannot work a normal job. He will never be able to live alone. He cannot live at home because of his violent rages. Not his fault. And will never have a normal life. Comas aren't like the movies. Brain damage is a bitch. I woke up in the hospital 3 days after an unintentional overdose of opiates and benzos. I remember projectile vomiting in my apartment, then waking up 3 days later with my girlfriend by my side. She showed up to find me unresponsive and barely breathing on my couch. As far as the coma itself goes, it was basically like falling asleep and waking up 3 days later. It was initially very confusing. I unfortunately didn't stop using drugs for another 1.5 years. Edit. Just a clarification, I woke up in the hospital with my girlfriend by my side. I fell into a coma after I got very drunk, fell over, cracked my head and had a bleed on my brain, had the last rites said as well. I was out for about 21 hours or so. I remember nothing of the coma. Just woke up with no recollection of what happened. Was a mixture of very confused, disorientated, and had a standard shitty hangover. Never been in a coma personally, but my BFF was in one for 3 months after a motorcycle accident and he told me some weird stuff, had some crazy trauma from it. 1. Endless hallways in the hospital where he was running away from some unidentified shadowy thing. 2. Ran into a room full of crazy surgical instruments and a mad scientist who strapped him down to a bed to experiment on him. He later speculated that it may have been influenced by the straps on the bed he was laying on in real life. 3. Gargoyles. At least that's what he called them. The little gray ones wanted to hurt him, but the big reddish-brown one scared them off. Apparently it wasn't safe either, but it ignored him rather than killed him. 4. He would often call me in the middle of the night. I got off work around 2 a.m. and could never sleep right after work, and have me come over to sit with him. At these times his mood could range from normal to bouncing off the walls to crying in terror. One of these times was not long after he had brought a new puppy home. He called me over because he was afraid to be alone with it. Apparently it reminded him of the red gargoyle. I don't know if comas cause PTSD, but I would fully believe that he had it. I was about 7 when it happened. I was playing around on a swing and apparently fell over and hit my head. Also, swallowed my tongue in the process. Fortunately, people around were quick to react. Somebody reached down my throat and took out my tongue and called an ambulance. I don't really remember it all that. I just remember waking up at the hospital the next day. My mother was standing next to me, and as I woke up she started asking me questions like about what my name was or what her name was. I remember being really confused. I was like, "Mum, what sort of silly question is that?" Turns out, I've woken up at some point in the ambulance and had no idea who my mum and dad were, as they were in the ambulance with me. Definitely not a fun experience. But the worst part was that the doctors said I couldn't eat chocolate for like a month after that. It was bizarre. Last thing I remember was the respiratory tech came into my general floor hospital room to give me a treatment. Next thing I know, she is calling in the floor nurses, say we have to get her to ICU now. Someone said we need doctor's orders, and the tech said, "I don't care, we're going now." 7 days later the breathing tube is removed and I start coming to reality. The first day I was so out of it I thought Oprah had found a cure for cancer. I also for some reason decided to attack a nurse, tried to run and promptly fell face first into a counter. I broke my nose. The weeks following were very strange. I developed a fear of falling asleep and had mild hallucinations. All in all, 0/10 recommend. I don't remember the coma itself. I was conscious and then I woke up with my mom sitting next to me. Nothing in between. When I woke up, I assumed I was at home. Why would my mom be sitting next to my bed? Wait, this isn't my bed. Wait, is this a hospital room? When did I get to the hospital? Why am I in a hospital? Why am I in pain? I was pretty much panicking here. Eventually, everything was explained to me and I calmed down. I had rolled my truck and hit my head 9 days prior. So, coma itself was 10. Waking up after was pi 10. Would not recommend. I was in a coma for 2 weeks and my family was told to start making arrangements. My wife and my 3 boys, all adults, were with me around the clock. I don't remember anything at all. But later, much later, when I made it through and was out of the hospital, I didn't feel like listening to music, especially the Beatles or Zeppelin, as well as some other which are my favorites, and I have playlists for all my different moods. It made me depressed and angry. We all had gotten together and I was told that. Shit, now I crying. My family played these playlists non-stop. The thing is, I always have some music on, and as far back as I can remember into my youth, I've had something always playing, or at concert, searching for new music. I'm now back, 2 years later, to listening to most of my favorites, but not with the same excitement.